Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Kay,
And I'm Eleanor.
and welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, where we kind of talk about movies. And we are we this week.
We are, because
And we know
I
what we're
am
doing.
back from the dead.
I think in the last episode, I said that you were my semi-regular co-host,
I would agree with that.
not quite co-host,
Um,
not quite guest.
so I'm like, are they lovers or are they friends? Worse.
They don't know the answer.
We've never known. But what we are is I don't know if you'd appreciate me calling you this, but I'm going to. We're both sinners.
Yeah, sure.
We've both
Everyone's a
committed at
sinner,
least one sin. Yeah,
actually, according to what we're talking
I
about today.
lie. I
Not to me, right?
no. I don't know any of. I covet. Is that one of the Big Ten?
I think so.
We went to
Haven't killed
Catholic school.
anybody. Hmm.
We went to Catholic school. We know this. We're
I think we went to Catholic school at the stage of life where like they assume you'd been in Catholic school the whole time.
yeah.
It's
They
like
didn't
if I
teach us
it's
anything.
like if you went you like your last year of high school you decided to go to like a Spanish speaking school.
Yeah, they're not going to teach
They're not
you.
slowing it down for you, you know?
Uh, Sinners. Sinners is a very recent movie. It came out last year. I didn't realize we were still making these things. Personally,
This is the only movie I know that was made last year, actually. Don't ask me anything else.
um, it was released in April. Good summertime hit. I didn't watch it until yesterday, so I don't know what was going on
It
with
was
when
released
this
in
film was released.
April. It was written and directed by Ryan Coogler of Creed and Black Panther and the new Space Jam, which we have not seen. Have you seen the first Space Jam, actually?
I
Answer my
know it's
question.
a basketball movie, and I think there are aliens. But I only know that because I was watching. I think it was an episode of American Dad on a plane recently,
No,
where
of
they had
course.
to fake a Space Jam for the plot of the episode. So like I vaguely understand Space Jam, but not from like anything that would make me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler. I like Ryan Coogler a lot. I think he does cool stuff. I talked a little bit online recently about how I would really like to see him direct a adaptation of the Buffalo Hunter, which is this book by this guy named Stephen Graham Jones, and it's about a vampire, a Native American vampire, and he's like telling his life story to this priest. But Stephen Graham Jones, I said, is very informed by his Native American culture, and you can read that, see that in his books. And his books are very visual; they feel like movies. And I feel like Ryan Coogler, all of his work, despite the different, genres we're spanning, we got a sports movie, we've got a superhero movie, we've got whatever Space Jam is. He's very informed by his culture, and it comes out in different ways. So I feel like he's very informed by his culture, and his love for not just his culture, but I think also his love of movies comes out in all of these genres. So I like the stuff he does. I think it's very he's like an auteur. He's not just like a director. Like his life experience bleeds into the stuff he's making, and it feels very fresh. The movie stars Michael B. Jordan, or as we call him here, don't quote me on that, Michael B. Fine,
He do.
Haley Steinfeld, Miles Catton, I don't know. It's his movie debut. He's a musician. Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Mosaku. This would be great if I could see these closer, so I apologize for butchering. And those are all the people that I wrote down that were starring in this movie. There was a lot of people. It was a good movie. It was nominated for 16 Oscars, which is the most amount of Oscars any movie has ever been nominated for, ever, which is crazy. I feel like I thought I would think that number would be higher, and two, I'm surprised that this was the movie that did it. I think it was a good movie, but 16 Oscar nominations is crazy. And they won four of them that I wrote down. Michael B. Jordan won Best Actor, so it's his first Oscar. Ryan Coogler won for Best Original Screenplay. Autumn Darald Arkapaw won Best Cinematography, and she's the first woman and black winner of that, which is crazy.
Ooh,
And
that's crazy to be 2025 and doing both of those in one.
if you told me that 10 years ago, I'd
Ooh.
be like, not great, but okay. And Ludwig Göransson won Best Original Score.
I have questions about what other movies came out last year for Michael B. Jordan to win Best
One of them
Actor.
I know was that Timothy Chalamet movie that he was
The
doing
ping
his
pong
big.
one.
Sure, if that's what that movie's about. If that's what that movie's about, I'm never gonna watch it. Marty Supreme.
Yeah, that's a ping
Yeah,
pong
because he was doing
movie.
his whole "I want to be one of the greats," which I respect. I think he got a lot of flack when he was saying that, and like when he first started his I don't know, started. I was not started is not the right word. He got a lot of flack when he first said that, and when he changed his demeanor, I feel like around his press junkets and like how he was in press about wanting to be one of the great actors and thinking he deserves the Oscar and this and this and this, which I don't mind. I respect. I think a good comparison is sports. I feel like athletes, you value that in an athlete. I want an athlete to come out and go, "No, I am the best player on the court." And everyone's trying to keep up with me. Holla at your boy, right? That's what Timothy Chalamet was doing, and for some reason, I really don't respect that in film. I thought it was fine. I just, from what I've heard, because I haven't seen Marty Supreme, but again, it's a ping pong movie, apparently. I just don't know if that was the movie to be hanging our hat on, you know? Or to start our, like, if he had done that, like, during Dune, which I also haven't seen, but, like, from what I've seen of Dune, if that was his
It's
demeanor
like
during
a
Dune,
movie.
I'd be like, yeah, I know that makes sense. Paul, whatever your name is. Eleanor's gonna
I can
recap
read.
the plot of the movie for
Yes.
us.
And I'm going to do it very succinctly because it's already written down, so I can't ramble for 15 minutes. Okay, plot 1932. We get two Michael B. Jordans. But
Because what's
because
better than one teenage dirtbag?
two
Who teenage dirtbags?
um, but in this movie, he's not Michael B. Jordan. He's twins named Smoke and Stack, and apparently their last name is Moore. Um, they're back in
Stack more
Mississippi.
paper.
Well, that's kind of funny. You kind of got me with that one. Um, they're back in Mississippi after hanging out in Chicago for a couple years doing not nefarious activities. They buy an old sawmill with plans to convert it into a juke joint for the black community, opening that same night. They get their cousin Sammy, who's the son of a preacher and a talented musician, and then get more friends to help them set up, get everything ready. At the same time, we see an Irish man named Remick come to somebody's house and pleads to them for help. And then womp womp, Remick's a vampire. He vampires the other two people. That kind of starts his thing. Juke joint is now open. Sammy performs, and Remick is drawn to the power of his gift, as is literally everybody else. And Remick is determined to turn Sammy into a vampire to harness said gift. And then a battle for their lives ensues, and Sammy escapes into the morning light.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
What were my thoughts? I liked that we knew off the jump. Actually, let's get into it. We'll get into it. It'll come up.
Okay.
A good plot. One thing I will say, I really liked, and I didn't know this at the time until I started the movie, that it took place in one day. I think movies that take place in a day, similar vibe to like a locked room mystery. I like something that's got those constraints, and you're like, how can we possibly have all these moving pieces and such a complex story within these parameters? So in this case, the parameters are the 24-hour period. So I thought that was interesting.
My main problem with the movie overall was its pacing.
Yeah,
And I don't think that it was because it took place in what I think the movie could have taken place over a week. And I think the pacing still could have been off, but I think it didn't work in this point, and
yeah.
it's hard for me to like pinpoint why it didn't work because I'll say more as we get into it, but like I liked the elements of the movie, but I feel like they didn't make a full dish.
I agree. My thing with the day is I think it couldn't have taken place in a long time. And not just like you said, yeah, it could take place in a week and the pacing still would have been weird. just like because of the story, it couldn't have taken place in more than like I'd say like a 30, like a 36-hour period max. But I think where we divided our attentions, like how much time we dedicated to, let's say, portions of the day, could have been restructured a little bit better. But
The only thing I knew, like, going into Sinners was there were two Michael B. Jordans and there were vampires. And so I felt like throughout the first half of the movie, I was like, okay, and now there's a vampire. Okay, and then there wasn't. And then it was vampire. Okay, now the movie's over.
that was actually
Which,
that was another thing I did like though, because I knew going into it was a vampire movie, but not because of the movie, but just I just knew there were vampires in it, and I liked that off the jump you knew there was a vampire. I like that that wasn't a big reveal, because at the very beginning there's like these flashbacks to the like climax of the movie, and then as soon as we meet Remick, immediately we know he's a vampire, like 2 seconds later, you know. So I did like that because I think we didn't waste time with the suspense of trying to figure out what we're dealing with here. You know,
mhm.
we as an audience knew it pretty early on. But first, we're going to talk about the cinematography. So we broke the movie down into a few different categories, and then we'll talk about themes at the end that we came up with. So the cinematography, like I said, opening shot of the there's an opening scene. We see the sky. I think there's a voiceover, and then the opening scene is Sammy, he's a young man, son of a preacher. He's walking into church. He like drives up to the church, walking into church while church service is going on. He's bloodied. He's beaten. He's got a guitar in his hand, and it's like ripped to shreds. He's got these three gashes on his face, and he walks up to his father, and his father's like, don't worry, son, like basically we're here for you, everyone pray for him. And he's like, Sammy, you need to renounce, basically he's telling him to renounce music because music is the devil, right? What I really liked, and I might be reading too much into this, but on my rewatch, I didn't notice this the first time, is the when Sammy is with his dad. So it's not the whole time, it's after he gets into the church, specifically when he's close to his father and his father's hugging him and his father's speaking to him and like putting a hand on his shoulder. We keep getting intercut with scenes of Remick at the climax of the movie attacking Sammy. And I thought it was really interesting because I think something we're going to talk about more at the end is Remick wanted to, and I think vampires as a whole, but Remick wanted to consume essentially or take an aspect of Sammy, which was his gift for music, and use it for his own deeds and kind of take it away from Sammy. And in a different way, Sammy's dad also wants to take music away from him. So different motivations, different methods, but then they're both trying to steal something to him. So I thought it was really interesting. They kept paralleling his dad specifically with the big bad villain of the movie.
I agree. I think like maybe steal isn't the right word for what his dad wants to do, but I think it's very interesting that both Remick and the preacher, his dad, are are so invested in his music, but his
Mm-hmm.
dad is invested in stealing it, taking it away to protect him from Remick. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also like he got a gift.
Neither of them like care about what Sammy gets out of his music.
Mm-hmm.
Remick wants to get something out of it for himself, and his dad wants no one to get anything out of it at all,
Yeah.
essentially.
I also think the movie was just beautiful.
Yeah, the cinematography. Like, I don't have a lot of bullet points on here because it was just me going, "Damn, that shot was crazy. Damn, those were really well colored. Damn, that looked good. Damn, Michael do be fine." You know. So, but I one thing I noticed also is at there's an opening shot of the sky, and it looks like there's almost two suns, and obviously this movie is about twins, and they're very much two sides of one coin. Michael B. Jordan. We can talk a little bit about like, the Oscar here. I don't think he was well. Actually, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but he played two twins, right? Which I've seen in movies. That's obviously very hard to do. I think it's hard to play two characters. Who else did that? Dove Cameron did that in that
Lindsay Lohan,
show.
Liv and Maddie.
Yeah. My favorite, I think, is Tom Hardy played these twin gangsters in. I think it's called Legend. It's what's like based on these two real gangsters in London. So I thought he did a good job. But I like when, and I find sometimes it's reductive, and it's very often when there's men playing the twins. They're almost like direct opposites. Like not a lot of character fleshing out. You know what I mean? It's just like one of them likes the nighttime and one of them likes the daytime. It's kind of like that. So I do think there
One
was
of
a
them
bit more
wears a red
nuance.
hat, and the other one wears a blue hat.
Yeah. So I did think there was a little bit more nuance. I could always tell who was who just like from the start of the movie. I knew which twin was which, and it was like very clear who was like the leader in that dynamic and this and this. And I saw some stuff saying Michael B. Jordan, for one twin he wore smaller shoes and he wore bigger shoes for the other one, and to kind of help him, get different gaits and things like that. So little things like that definitely made a difference. But I just thought, back to cinematography, opening shot, there's two suns and one's kind of faded in the background almost. So I liked that little parallel, kind of give us a clue, we know what we're getting into. And the I liked how it linked back to the end of the movie, talking about taking place in 24 hours. We get this opening shot of the sun. To the At the end of the movie, there's a sunrise.
You know how sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, wow, the people who made this had fun.
Yeah, I don't know if this counts as cinematography. I This is my favorite depiction of vampires I've seen, like physically. We didn't get too much into the lore and like the details of Remic's vampirism and the, I don't know, the affliction of it, like how that, like what affects him besides sun, which we knew. But visually, I wish every
Mm-hmm.
vampire looked like that. I think we've made vampires too sexy, which is a hill I am willing to die on.
I mean, I think you're saying that like Remick wasn't also sexy.
Remick was not
And
sexy. I remember when this movie came out, everyone was like, "Oh my god, if Remick was at my door, I'd open it." First of all, if anyone was at my door, it'd have to be Bo Chow. Second of all, he was sexy one time in the movie, and I will let you guess what I think the one time Remick was sexy. You don't have to do it now. If you want to stew on it, come back to me.
I'm scared of it because I
Okay.
think I know, but I don't want to guess it.
No, guess.
For me, unfortunately, it was the whole time. I especially like when he got those little claws. Loved that. Love a claw.
I don't want to say he was sexy. When I saw like full vampire Remick, he's got these like big pointy teeth. He looks demonic. Okay, like
Hmm.
his nails just kept growing and growing. It's kind of like when you're on like a nice roller coaster. That's how I feel when I see a cool vampire. I'm like, oh my god, this is great. Like I'm like excited about it, but also it's like I don't want to fuck the vampire. You know what I mean? Like I just, oh my god, that's so cool. I'm very glad he's not trying to keep me.
Yeah, I just think we're different. I think there are some people who inherently find violence sexy.
Which
Um,
I think that's fine. See, that was my other thing, is I'm not saying that there's not sex appeal in that. I've talked about this with my mom. Sometimes someone's not hot, but they could do something and have sex appeal. I think there's sex appeal in vampires. I just think visually we've forgotten that they can be scary.
yeah, I do agree that like if you go monster mode, you should look more monstery. However, sometimes monster mode still sexy. It's not their fault.
I don't disagree with you. I just think a little bit of an oversaturation. So I appreciate it here, where like I could understand how Remick was attractive pre long claws and teeth. As he got more evil, like, or as we learned, I think maybe the depths of his evilness, and that was reflected then visually. You were kind of like, ooh.
Mhm.
Even if I was on your side or I wanted to join your side, maybe that's not what I thought I was signing up for anymore.
And you know, I do think monsters should be scary.
Hot take.
I'll take.
Soundtrack. Oh, we loved this soundtrack. There's three whole bullet points on this slide, guys.
There's four,
There's four bullet points.
and
Well, there's two bullet points in a subsection. I did not like the soundtrack on the first watch, actually. And I think that's maybe why I didn't have more notes about it. Because to me, it was really jarring. It just felt like I think this kind of goes also in line with your pacing comment that you made earlier, where sometimes the soundtrack was on, and like if I wasn't looking at the screen, like if I was like cleaning or something, or if I wasn't looking at the screen, I was like, is this like a Amazon ad? Like it just felt very out of place in a 1932 vampire movie. But when I watched it the second time, I realized how much there was obviously a lot of emphasis on Sammy's gifts. And one of the best scenes in the movie, if not the scene of the movie, is Sammy's performing at the juke joint, and he's basically blurring the lines of time. So you have these like traditional African dancers and like a variety of them. There's I want to say East Asian dancers. There's dancers from the future, like hip hop dancers. There's a guy who kind of looks like Prince playing the guitar. There's a DJ like with like scratching vinyl. Like so, Sammy brings together all of his history that has led up to him being alive at that point, and also everything that's going to follow throughout time. And you can all of it exists in the juke joint, even though the people at present day in the juke joint don't realize. And this is what Remick sees. I assume because Remick is a supernatural being, he can see that that veil has been lifted. So that's the power of Sammy's music, is to blur the lines and kind of take you out of the place you're in. So I felt like on the rewatch, to me, that's kind of what the soundtrack was doing. I don't know if it was always successful. Like I said, sometimes it was just a little too jarring, but I do think it all of a sudden very suddenly changing the tone of a scene kind of linked to what Sammy's music does, which is helps you forget your problems, or it's just big source of power that can very suddenly shift a situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember anything about the score, which generally means it was fine. I thought that scene was beautiful. Um, I haven't watched Crazy Rich Asians, but the way people talk about the wedding scene of that with such reverence is probably what I felt when I watched that, but there's no way to tell. I think it was a good way to kind of blend the two storylines of like, it's taking place in the juke joint. He's bringing, joy and his gift to his community. And then we see Remick seeing it and him
Mm-hmm.
wanting to vulture the community and take Sammy's gift to pervert for his own gain,
Yep.
for Remick's own gain. And so I think it did a good job of, well, it didn't do a good job, but I think it was a very interesting way to kind
Yeah.
of marry the competing storylines of like, oh, this is his beautiful gift. Oh, I could steal that for myself.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I don't think it was a great way to marry the two storylines.
At the beginning, they have this voiceover. They have like these almost like caveman cave drawings, like kind of describing the cultures and like the people with the power of music. And the voiceover is done by a character in the movie. Then we jump into period piece. Period piece, period piece, period piece. Now there's vampires. Vampires, vampires, vampires. Then at the end, we're like, hey, just in case you forgot, there's people with the power of music. And we gotta, just be safe. I I think if we hadn't had that intro in the beginning, it wouldn't have felt so weird when we then jumped into period piece to jump back into. I keep calling it magical realism for lack of a better word. Like the tone was magical realism, the tone was period piece. I think it should have been period piece. Then, like you said, we have the big scene. We've meshed our two genres essentially of this movie. Finish out the movie that way. With our next topic of acting, I noticed a lot of little things, and so kind of I don't know if these points seem counterintuitive. I'm surprised Michael B. Jordan won an Oscar for this role. I think he's a phenomenal actor. He was hardly the strongest performance in this movie. He did such a good job that he blended into the movie almost. Like I cared a lot about Sammy. I cared a lot about Bo Chow for reasons unknown. I cared a lot about Mary, but he did such a good job. And I honestly I do think that's what a good lead actor does, is
Mhm.
bring up the rest of the story. Cuz yes, it's centered around him, but we can't just, unless it's like, a biography or something like that, he needs to fit himself into the rest of the story, and I thought he did a good job doing that. But he had a lot of little nuances, specifically when he was playing Stack. So Stack is not the more reckless, but like Smoke is the responsible brother. He's the older, even though they're twins. He's the older one. He's like the man with the plan. He makes sure, he's not reckless with his time or his feelings, whatever. Stack, the vampires come to the juke joint and they're like, "We're gonna play you a little song because we believe in equality and we would like to come into your juke joint, please." So they play a little song. It's a creepy ass song. Play a little ditty, and everyone's standing at the door looking at them like, and Stack's in the background like bopping out. He's like, "Ooh, that kind of good," and everyone's kind of like, "You need to get in line." And all of this, there's a lot of little moments like that. All of that ties into Stack ends up being turned into a vampire by Mary, and Smoke is left on the other side. So the two brothers become very much two sides of one coin. Smoke stays a human, Stack is a vampire. And I just liked how it was very clear that of the two of them, he'd be the one to go down that path. He was like, "Oh, this song's not too bad. Shut up."
I really liked Haley Steinfeld in this movie. Part of it is she's very pretty.
Fair enough.
But there, I maybe she's talking to Sammy, is his name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who she's talking to, but they're at the Duke joint, and somebody goes, "What are you?" And then she gives an answer,
Oh yeah, that's Sammy.
and then they're like, "No, what are you?" And I, not to sound white, um, I think it did a good job of showing that like there are people who have to like explain their identity to literally everybody they come in contact with,
Mm-hmm.
and until either you are that person or you see it, I think the like, I don't want to say grief, but like the exhaustion of having to every time you leave your house explain who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was well showcased. Um, and also she's very pretty.
I think
I
it's
really,
almost like you have to perform all of the time
yeah.
because you have to explain yourself to people, and in a way you're trying not to, like in her case, let's say, you don't want to perform just whiteness, right? But you're going to perform whiteness around the white people, but you also don't want to perform just your blackness because that's not all of you. And I think you don't really know how to fully perform either of them because you never get to really fully be
Mhm.
either of them. But I also really liked it because it wasn't just, again, she was white for the sake of, or she was mixed for the sake of a plot point or like giving a little trouble in their romance, like their love story. She goes, they send Remick and his vampire group away because they're like, y'all are weird and this is for black people. Goodbye. Can we have nothing? Leave us alone. And she's like, okay, but you guys need money. I'll go out and like just feel them out. They'll talk to me better than, like, easier, like more comfortably than they'll talk to you because obviously I'm white and they're white, right? Or like I look white. So she goes out there, and then that's how the whole trouble starts. Is she ends up getting turned into a vampire because she's alone with them. But kind of on the other side of the coin of, okay, yeah, you have to perform all the time and you have to represent yourself, and just the ways in which you don't realize your identity could be dangerous to you and the people around you. And I saw people who explained it, articulate much better than me online, saying like that's kind of almost a danger in a white woman, like a well-meaning white woman, is she might think she's helping, but at the end of the day, like just the nature of who she is going to cause problems, even when she is doing it from a good place, which is what happens to Mary.
I mean, we've never been in 1930s together, but I think even like you and I standing next to each other, we look a little bit like a college brochure. And I think it garners, it doesn't like, I don't think it's ever garnered like meanness necessarily, but there have been times where even I'm like, oh, everybody's looking at us. And I'm sure, obviously, other people feel it a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
It was, it's odd to like
But don't
have
worry,
something.
we don't just look like a college brochure. I'm pretty sure we are on our
We
college
literally are.
brochures.
I really like, I don't remember her name at all because of who I am as a person. But Smoke's romantic entanglement
Annie,
ex, Annie. I loved her performance.
loved her.
I She was an absolute stunner. I mean, every scene she was in, I was captivated by her.
Hmm.
She made me cry twice.
Ooh,
Um,
you never do that.
I just be
Except for
crying
always.
sometimes. I do now. Now that I'm old and decrepit, all I do is cry. Um, I thought she was fantastic.
She really carried the movie. She's the one who was doing the voiceover at the beginning, and I
Mm,
think if we just brief callback, I think if we had taken that voiceover and maybe like pulled it in when they were discussing, either when Smoke went to visit her at her shop, or when she saw Sammy for the first time, or when they realized that they were weird creatures outside, because she was talking about they're not haints, they're something. She's like, I think they're vampires. If we had pulled it in
Mhm.
then this movie would have been a little bit better paced. But I agree, fantastic performance. A performance I thought was very, very good. Delroy Lindo played Delta Slim, so he's like this old blues musician who's like playing at a train station, and he plays with Sammy. And you could very clearly tell he like takes to Sammy. But I thought he had such a good performance, and what really spoke to me, and I think what helped helped this movie be more than just a vampire movie, or gave it the depth it needed. I under like if it was just a vampire movie like I was thinking, I didn't understand the hype around it. But you had these moments like this where Delta Slim is talking about how he got arrested with this other guy, this other musician, and they were such good musicians that instead of like taking them to jail, the police would take them to fancy white people's houses and they would play, and then they got all the money from that, and they were like, okay, we're gonna go our separate ways and do whatever with our money. And his musician friend took out all of the money he had to like pay for his bus ticket. Like, I don't know, say he had like $200, he took out all 200 to pay like $2 for the bus ticket. Some white people saw him and lynched him, and his emotions in that scene like bring you back to like the vampires haven't even shown up yet, but you're like, okay, this is, you can tell it's coming because again we know the vampires are in the movie, and we're at that point in the movie, but it so clearly brings you back to the realities of like that's not the worst thing these people face is supernatural creatures, like not by a long shot. I was truly unsettled by Mr. Jack O'Connell as Remick, which I think you should be. Again, I
Mhm.
can understand how he was hot, but I spent more time being like, "Ooh, he's
Ooh.
creepy." I don't like that. However, and this is not an acting choice. I just back to Ryan Coogler's depiction of vampires. They had these like shiny eyes that like they didn't glow. It was like almost like a marble, like catching the light in their eyes. Chef's kiss. He was hot then. Two times he was hot. Final. At the end, we have a time jump. Sammy, I don't think we've actually explained the plot of this movie. We did, but like not in detail. At the end of the
We
movie,
did.
so basically, Smoke ends up dying, not in the vampire fight. He gets into a shootout with the KKK, which is just a sentence, right? You just have to be with me on this one.
You know.
Gets into a shootout with the KKK, dies. We thought Stack died because all the vampires get caught in the sunlight at the end of towards the end of the film before Sammy goes back to the church. Turns out, all these years later, Sammy's his famous blues musician. He's got these scars on his face from the fight. He becomes a famous blues musician. It's the 90s, I believe, the 80s. Stack and Mary are alive. They come to visit Sammy. They're like, "Oh, we've got it. We've got every one of your records." And as they're leaving him, Sammy says, "What?"
This was not in the movie I watched.
Yes, it was.
It was
What
not in
happened
the
at the
movie
end
I
of the
watched.
movie you watched?
He was singing and then it was over.
I think you
But I
turned off
don't.
the movie at the wrong time. Okay, everyone plus Eleanor. Here's how Sinners ends. We time jump. It's the 80s or the 90s, I don't remember which exactly. Sammy's become a famous blues musician. He's performing on stage. He's like the last one at the bar. His security guard goes, "Oh, boss, some people here. It's like there's some fans that want to see you." And Sammy's like, "Yeah, that's fine. Let him in." In walks Michael B. Fine in this beautiful sweater because Stack didn't actually die. Behind him, here comes Mary. She also didn't die. They ran off into the sun. Oh, I guess the night together. Okay. They're like, "We have every one of your records. You know, we're really proud of you." And then Stack's like, "I can tell you don't have long left. I can change you into a vampire if you want it." And Sammy's like, "I'm okay, thank you though." They get up to leave, and Sammy says, "You know, about like," he said, "about once a week I wake up paralyzed thinking of that night. But before the sun went down, I think it was the best day of my life. Was it like that for you?" And Stack says, "Oh, no doubt about it. That was the last time I seen my brother, the last time I seen the sun, and for a couple hours we were free. I will bawl at that every single time." It's so like the idea of that person who is your other half essentially and never being able to see them again. And also, like, yes, you love this because now you're in a decade, in a world where you can be with this woman you love, this white woman, right? And you can have the freedom that you were never going to get that as a black man in the 1930s in America, right? To have all of that and still be missing so much of your life is so incredibly sad. And then also Sammy going, like, the idea of, like, this is the greatest day of my life and it ends up being the worst day of your life, but you carry it with you forever, for better or for worse.
I'm realizing that perhaps I would have liked this movie better. I, I swear to God, the one I watched ended with just him being the musician and then it stopped.
I'm very glad I got to watch you react to that in real time. Oh, a little bit back to my acting portion, but it's also kind of just the story overall. So Stack and Mary end up getting to be together, right, for eternity. And at the beginning of the movie, where we first meet Mary, she overhears, like, she sees him at a train station, and she comes to read him his rights because he ran off in the middle of the night because he's a rude boy. And she when she walks off, she says, "Go to hell." And Stack's like, "Yeah, I will. I'll save you a seat right next to me." And then, essentially, because the way they describe vampires in this is like their souls are trapped, they can never move on. Is So essentially, Stack did save her a seat in hell, and they're going to be together forever till the end of time.
Remember when I said people are making movies with people on their phones?
The call is coming from inside the
I
house.
just checked. And the scene you're describing was 100% played while I was watching the movie. And I don't know where I was.
You know, something you and I talk about a lot that we really like, specifically in music, is when getting what you wanted is not all you thought it would be. That's how the ending of that movie feels. Is Stack is free. He's lived to see a time where he can be a person on his own and be respected in society to an extent. Black people, you know, and in American society still have issues, obviously, but much better in the 80s, 90s than it is in 1932. He can be with the woman he loves, this white woman, right? They can be together and no one's going to bat an eye at that aspect of it, at least. But at the same time, you are removed from the time you're from. You can never see your brother, your other half, ever again. Sammy, who, like, to you is, like a little brother to you, this your cousin, is going. He's older than you now. He's older than you will ever be, technically, and he's going to die one day, and that'll be the last connection you ever have. And all you have are these memories of this night that was both the best and worst day of your life to live with. Sad. This is my quick little things that don't fit into other slides slide. I mentioned the go to hell. I'll save you a seat right next to me, because he saved her a seat right next to him. Well, technically she saved him the seat. Okay. I thought it was interesting. The Bo Chow and his wife Grace. Grace makes signs. They ask Grace to make a sign for the juke joint. She says, "Okay, but I only have one color." Guess what color it is? Red. Guess what color the is blood?
Red.
Red. I just thought that was interesting. Doesn't mean anything. There was a Chekhov's gun that did not go off in this movie, and I need it to. Okay, I need it to. I don't believe in unnecessary sequels and prequels and all that jazz. I need to learn more about these Native American vampire hunters, these Choctaw vampire hunters, because that's something that's mentioned in the beginning of the movie. Like I said, when we meet Remick, he comes out burning from the sun, running away from these Choctaw vampire hunters. The Choctaw vampire hunters are like, "We got to get out of here. It's getting dark. Let's go home. Leave these white people alone." They don't say that part, but that's what they were thinking.
That's what they were doing.
I need to hear about these Native American vampire hunters in the same way I need to see Stephen Graham Jones's Native American vampire on screen. Ideally, the two of them meet each other. Okay? That aside. Pro or con, I'm not quite sure which, about in terms of it taking place in one night. Elanor has some interesting thoughts around that.
I think I'm not gonna say my actual words because I've embarrassed myself enough today. Um, I think I would have liked kind of more build up with the vampire. Um, just the the marrying of the two kind of stories, it felt disjointed. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I just didn't. There wasn't enough meshing for me.
I agree. Like I said, I like because I feel like if we had to learn that like the build up of the vampires could have very easily been too
Mm-hmm.
much build up because I liked how it was like there's vampires, it's this Irish guy. Let's move on. But I feel like if we had spent more time being like there's creatures that haunt in the night. Like you know what I agree with you said something about foreshadowing in your bullet point here. I agree with you because remember I don't like that opening scene where we're describing the power of music. While we were there though, we should have been like also
And
there's
also, sometimes there's
creatures.
vampires. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I really thought the storyline of, I don't remember the difference of the twins. Whoever was with Annie, their dead son,
Smoke. Mhm.
I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, I was gonna bring that up because she says something like, "I don't want any of that smoke around here" because he's smoking the cigarette. But also, his name is Smoke. Also, I want to know how they came up with their names because they're known collectively as the Smokestack Twins, which is just a great name.
I think generally I would have liked just more information about the twins. Like, I don't know.
They do kind of speed run you through their history. I also you know what in terms of pacing and like conflicted the story being conflicted, I think it wasn't clear who they wanted the main character to be because the story was about Sammy. Like we follow Sammy at the end, we see Sammy at the beginning, but then we spent so much time with the twins, and I think that would have been enough information if they hadn't all of a sudden become the main. It was like Sammy's the main character. Now we're watching this movie through Sammy's perspective almost because it's the twins come to collect him. Then back to Sammy being the main character. I think he should have been more of an obvious thread throughout. But it was like he was like the hero, and then the damsel in distress, and then the hero again. So those are my things that don't fit onto other slides. Now for our themes.
Teams. Team
Theme
one.
number one. I was not original. I stole this from the tagline of the movie. We are all sinners.
Even
Do
me?
you have any thoughts you'd like to add? Yes, even you.
Um, I have thoughts of, I think that they did a good job of, I think almost every character was well rounded
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that, like, we got to see what made them sinners, but we
Yeah.
also kind of, that wasn't all of anyone.
Yeah.
Um, even like Remick to an extent. I mean, he was kind of just evil. Um, but we got to see like a little bit more, and I think the main characters. I mean, what they're were they mobsters? Were they just kind of
I
general
think what
hooligans?
happened, I think they were like kind of, maybe not on the up and up when they were living there originally. They went to Chicago. My understanding is one of them joined the Irish mob, one of them joined the Italian mafia. Because if you look at like their hats are like one of them's got like a patty cap on, one's got a fedora. Um, and they brought back like Italian beer for the juke joint. So my understanding is they went off, did their mob business, stole from the mob, and then came home.
Yeah, they like pit them against each other because they got
Yeah,
what, it was Irish beer and Italian wine or
yeah.
something.
They're like, oh, the other guy took your thing. Gonna go now.
I think, and also you have. I'm gonna steal one of your points. I'm sorry because I'm looking at them. Said black people sinning by existing. I think they portrayed that pretty well. And like the entire movie was kind of in between a rock and a hard place. Especially with when they were at the juke joint, and one of them was accepting plantation money
Mm-hmm.
instead of like actual US tender, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like, well, if we accept it tonight, they'll come back. If we
Mm-hmm.
say no tonight, they'll never come back. um and I thought that was interesting of like we're here to make money, but to make money, we kind of have to be trusted, and we definitely weren't trusted. We were ripping out the mob, so we got to get
No.
them today.
We gotta do it right this time. And also, like, someone in that movie brings up a good point. Is like, these people have worked hard all week for this plantation money because that's the only way they get paid. They deserve some place to relax. And like, I like that theme of we're all sinners. Is yes, we're all sinners in different ways. There's this girl Perlene. She's Sammy's love interest. She's cheating on her husband. They're not shy about that. She's like, I'm married, and Sammy's like, happily, which is like the 1930s equivalent of I'm taking a shower. Without me. That's what it felt like to me. But according to Sammy's dad, he's sinning by playing music. The twins have ripped off the mob. Mary's sinning, unfortunately, just by existing. Unfortunately for her,
Yep.
also, the cheating on her husband. But um, they're all sinners, but that doesn't make them any less worthy of having a place to relax, of having a space for their own. And that's what I meant when I said black people sinning by existing. Is like, obviously I don't think that, but the society they're in, and that's part of the only reason I don't fully hate the shootout with the KKK at the end, is you talk about rocking a hard place. No matter what those boys did, they were never going to be free because the KKK, they ended, apparently the person they bought the sawmill from for the juke joint was the Grand Master, I don't know, they're stupid fucking names, right? Um
Unfortunately, I know this one. It is the Grand Wizard.
oh, you're paying attention to this part.
No, I know that separately, which is
That's worse.
worse.
The Grand Wizard of the KKK. So he was like, next thing he's like, he brought his KKK, but he's like, they think they're gonna get a place of their own. Ha ha ha. And he said the N word, which I didn't love. And they got then Smoke is in a shootout with the KKK, and it's like, okay, I could have let the vampire kill me. I could have let myself be turned into a vampire, or I don't worry because I defeated that. I defeated that evil. Don't worry, here's the KKK come to kill me, and they do. I die. So the black people can't have anything. And then again, that connects back to the end of the movie, which Eleanor definitely watched and saw, where Stack is finally like not being criminalized for just existing, but he can never truly want more in a way because all of these things that maybe he wanted and these people he loved are no longer with him except for Mary. And on the Remick point, Remick obviously very. I also like that they're like there was no bones about it. Remick's the bad guy. We're not trying to make Remick seem sympathetic. However, it's interesting. I again an intentional choice to pick an Irish man to be the center of evil in your movie because he comes around. He's preaching about. He sounds like what I imagine Christian missionaries sound like, or like
Yeah.
Mormon missionary. Like he's like, I believe in equality of the races, and we just want to have a good time and like shared struggle. Like the my people were colonized as well, and so I would never do that to another people. He quite literally, his goal in this movie is to take away a significant aspect of a person, like a real life existing person, for his own gain. And I don't know, it's not really explained in the movie whether he's aware he's doing the same thing that was done to the Irish people, or if because he's doing it, it's fine. Like when the victim becomes the perpetrator, it's okay now, right? That's fine. That's basically what he's doing. And so I really, really liked using a colonized person who, at the end of the day, will still have more rights and value, not value, but more rights and value in society than
Yeah.
black people, even though at one point you were also the downtrodden.
Yeah. I think him being Irish was. Because it does kind of allow him to almost like marry be in two places at once, where it's
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, that sucked when it happened to you, but also now I can profit
When
off of
I
it
do it, I'm
essentially.
doing it in a more ethical
Mm-hmm.
manner, so it's fine. Because I know what it's like to be at the bottom of a boot, so my boot's not going to be so bad.
Yeah, it's soft, it's plush,
Yeah, you'll
and
love it.
I'm protecting you from the real bad guys that are also just me,
With a slightly bigger boot
but
on.
different.
But yes, that's theme one. We are all sinners. Theme number two is home, or the idea of going home, which I think in the same way all of the characters were sinners, all of the characters at some point wanted to go home in a way. As I said earlier, Mary says it outright. She's like, I didn't want to be white, I wanted to be with you. Like those are the people she was raised with. That's her home. When she and Stack become vampires at the end, they can never truly go home because home is in the 1930s and it's the 80s or 90s. I don't remember which. And my brother is dead. I have a brother. Can you guys tell?
Um, you have
Is it
a point
obvious
in
by everything
here
about me?
about the freedom to choose how you go, because the end is inevitable. And I thought, I mean, obviously having twins, having them both kind of diverge into separate paths, you kind of have to do that if you're going to put twins in the movie. Um, but I did like that we kind of saw that no matter what path you choose, shit's kind of gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like, especially as a black person, you're walking around with a target on your back,
Mhm.
especially in the 1930s. Not that it's much better now, but
Yeah.
like there was the scene of one of the twins kind of debating whether they should go out and kind of or let the voluntarily join the vampires in
Yeah.
some sort of fashion. And I like that, like, even though they made a choice that time, it didn't matter
Mhm.
because there was a plan set for you, not in like a god way, but in like a sometimes things just kind of suck way, and there's no you can't like personal choice your way out of the society that is hell bent on you not existing.
It's like I think we've talked about before. Is like sometimes like life's gonna be hard. So I guess I get to choose the hardship almost, but I don't get out of it being hard and awful and
Yeah,
terrible.
it's like, choosing the boot that steps on you doesn't make it feel better.
Yeah. And then like the idea of going home back to that ending scene, I think that's part of the reason it hits for me so much is no matter what they did, that's the theme they keep coming back to. A Stack at the end says, and for a few hours we were free, because that's all they wanted, is they wanted a place to have that was their own, that would be their home, and they not just wanted that for themselves, they wanted that for the community that they loved and that they were raised in and that they supported, and couldn't do that. Also, Sammy plays this song called Traveling when Smoke and Stack go to go get him, and then he gets paired up with Stack to run errands, and Smoke goes to run other errands. And he plays the song Traveling for Stack when they're in the car. And it says, I think in the song he says, "Oh, I'm something about going home, or I don't know where I'm going or why I'm here, but I'm traveling." Right? He plays that song for Stack in the car. That's the song he plays at the end for when Stack and Mary go visit him. And you can see Stack kind of like living in that song. And it's like for a moment, he gets to go home. So again, Sammy's music being so powerful to even temporarily kind of give you the illusion of getting to go home. Oh, and then the whole movie, the beginning of the movie starts with Sammy getting to go home. He drives himself home, whereas he was taken out by his cousins on the way there. The scene, the whole reason Remick wants Sammy's power is because he's like, "Oh my God, you can blur the lines. I can see my home again. I can see my people again." Not that you deserve that, Remick, because you're a bad, bad man.
Very bad.
And then there's a brief little scene where Delta one thing in the movie is like about the blues, obviously, and music, and Delta Slim says at one point, "Oh, white people like the blues just fine. They just don't like the people that make it." And then a little while later, you see him telling Sammy that we brought the blues with us from home. So that's also like home, being able to go home or carrying something with you from home, making you powerful. That's our third theme, our second theme, and our third theme, and our last theme
Our last theme.
is culture and assimilation. I had a theme of music originally, but I kind of figure they all kind of went together in culture and assimilation. The assimilation part is very much on the end of Remick again. He's like, "Don't worry. We are all going to be a family equality. We have had the same struggles. I get where you're coming from." But something that's really interesting is, again, music being the theme. Remick, the vampires have like this little, I guess I'll call it a Kaylee outside. They like,
Yeah.
they're singing a song. They're singing the Rocky Road to Dublin, and all the vampires, who at this point is comprised of 3 white people, one of them being Remick, a bunch of black people, two Chinese people, are Irish jigging it up, okay? To the Rocky Road to Dublin. They're all singing it. So all of these vampires are subscribed to Remick's way of life and Remick's way of thinking and Remick's culture. Whereas again, when we see Sammy in this beautiful scene when he plays music in the juke joint for the first time, we have East Asian dancers, we have a variety of African dancers, we've got a DJ, we have people of all races and walks of life and genres of music and types of artistic expressions brought together by this and still allowed to maintain their individuality. We don't get that when you are a vampire.
I when Bo Chow, right?
Love my life, Bojo.
He has already been turned into a vampire, and they're arguing at the door. Um, I'm pretty sure Remick says something like, "Well, I have all of his memories, so I
Mm-hmm.
know, like, I know where your daughter is." And so I liked the idea of by joining the vampires, you kind of get the the knowledge of everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, like if a like a black person who is trying to assimilate to kind of mainstream white culture, there's no way you can act that stops people from perceiving you as black.
Black. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was kind of an interesting way to show it, of like kind of being sold the dream of, not the dream, but like being sold the perks of what being a vampire would bring you. um I felt that they did a good job of kind of showcasing, well, this is why people might kind of join the homogeny.
Yeah. I also like if going off of that point of Remick not caring, because I don't know if this is a great comparison, but this is how it's coming to mind. For you, if you were trying to help me fit in, you would care about my ability to do that. Remick doesn't care about their ability to fit. He's like, this is just helping me. I don't really care about these guys. This is my posse. Could take or leave them. Don't really care. So like he is preaching this like he does care about them, and as soon as he gets what he wants, they just need to get in line with his program, essentially. I also really what I really liked, because we talk about the Irish being, colonized and they brought Christianity or Catholicism to Ireland, is in the final standoff between Sammy and Remick, Sammy begins to recite the Lord's Prayer, and they're standing in this puddle of water, and I was really hoping the puddle of water was going to turn into holy water, and I was like, haha, we've got you, brother, but it didn't. But Remick recites the Lord's Prayer with him, and I thought that was a really interesting nod of like kind of the consumption of culture almost that Remick is trying to do and has done. Is he says, he's like, don't worry, I absorbed all of that because my culture was raised and assimilated to Catholicism. So it doesn't do anything for him anymore. But I think he says he's like I can still recite it, or it still brings me comfort or something. Remick says. So even though he knows it's not going to do anything against him, finding comfort in the thing that like the weapon someone's trying to wield against you, despite the fact that it was a weapon that was successfully wielded against you previously. Also, that was the only time Remick was hot. You could hear his little Irish accent on on the on it when he's, and also he's kind of like baptizing Sammy while he's doing this. He keeps ducking him under the water, and it's just, I think it's a really good scene where, despite the fact that I understand where Remick is coming from, I cannot be on his side. But it's a tragedy what happened to him, but now he's inflicting that tragedy on other people.
now now this is off topic. Do you think, now that you've seen him, we could watch the show that he's in with Dev Patel?
No,
You will not like it.
I
Oh,
know, I know.
okay. Okay, all right.
You want to
But
clip
what if,
together Dev Patel scenes for me? I'll watch those.
I'm starting a thing. I We need now Dev Patel to play a vampire. because
Oh.
Jack O'Connell was on Skins and now played a vampire, and so was that guy whose name Nicholas Holt. He was also in Skins, and then he played the lead in Warm Bodies. So now
So no, Dev
it's
Patel needs to
time.
play like a werewolf or like a merman or something.
You're right, because that was zombies and not vampires, which I'm realizing now as I'm saying this. So I
You
think you're
learn
right.
so
It's
many
time.
things on this show.
I really do. It's crazy. I don't know where I am.
Okay, I need Dev Patel in a rom com. So we need Dev Patel in like a supernatural
Like a
creature.
werewolf rom com.
Mothman. No, you know what we need to do?
Mm.
Because he did. No, that wasn't him. That was the other guy. Okay, but
So
he
you
did the
don't want my
Green Knight.
idea where he's in love with a puppy and a human and he has to pick?
That's my nightmare, actually. I'm going Merman Dev Patel, to be honest.
Oh, like,
No, he did do. I haven't watched it, but I want to. He did some movie that has something to do with Hanuman, the Hindu god with the monkey face. He did something along those. So I need us to
yes,
tap
he
into like
did.
Indian, like Hinduism, folklore. Not folklore. That's not the right word. I'm trying not to offend anybody, but you know what I mean. I need to tap into the
Yeah.
Hinduism aspect. Find us a entity that he can be.
So not.
Oh my god! And so, what does this say? That
Oh, it says we're done.
I think the conclusion of this is Eleanor should go watch the end of this movie
I
and
really
maybe rewatch
should.
the whole
It kind
movie
of
just to be
sounds
safe.
good.
um, Sinners. It did not live up to the hype for me, but it was a really good movie, just in none of the ways I was expecting.
I think like if the other movie you were up against at the Oscars was Timothy Chalamet's Ping Pong movie, this would also be the
This is clear.
best movie of the year. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it as much as I think um, everybody else did,
Yeah.
but I would be interested in seeing more of Ryan Coogler's work. Um, I would also really like. I'm not gonna watch it, and you can't make me. But I would also love if Creed also had the same pace as a Marvel movie. I'd be interested in watching it to see if it also does that. But I don't want to.
Yeah, but he's shirtless and he flips a tire sometimes.
I just think maybe a boxing movie is not for me.
Yeah, you and I are very different people.
We are, and
I
that's
love
okay.
watching men get punched in the face. But yeah, I don't under like how do I phrase this? I understand why it got so hyped up because unfortunately, I think movies with a black director and with a such a strong black cast and with such strong connections to a culture that again is not given the credit it deserves, I would say, in society. I feel like people almost tend to overcorrect. So I do think some of the hype was swept up, like it got swept up in some of the hype because of that. But it is a very strong movie, and I think what makes it so strong is not the things that people were hyping up about it. I think, like we said, these discussions around culture and wanting to go home, and you can never truly win when you are born into a system that does not want you to win, no matter what choices you make. I think all of that was really strong, and again, visually, this depiction of vampires, I just think it wasn't really clear on what it wanted to be, or it picked two things and just didn't mesh them well, as you keep saying. I think it did a good job of when it was in one's lane to be in that lane, but we weren't merging the lanes. How many vampire teeth out of we'll do 10. Would you rate this? I think I would go like a 6.8 teeth. I liked it a lot more on the rewatch, but I think because I liked the parts that I liked them so much, and I just wanted to live in that little pocket, that the little pockets of the movie that I didn't want to live into just felt so much weaker by comparison. But I would recommend watching Sinners and watch all of Sinners, start to finish. Make sure you eyes are on the screen until the credits show up. Okay. Um, Michael B. Fine, as always. Ryan Coogler, keep doing your thing. I would like to see more of Wunmi Masaku, who played Annie. I would like to see more of Miles Caton. I think for a I don't we even touch on this, for a debut acting performance, phenomenal. I have been Kay. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening, and don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.